I had one other thing I wanted to discuss pretty quickly, and we've been talking a lot, especially in this last segment, about just chilling out and just, you've asked, so trust that it's going to happen and allow it to happen. Now, I've heard you also talk a lot about, and in the book, Ask It Is Given, focusing for 17 seconds and then 68 seconds, and the law of attraction starts, accumulating more thoughts that are similar to those. And so what can you do after you ask, besides know that it's there, that it's going to happen? I think the answer to that is, so tell me if I'm correct or not, is you can continue to think about what you've asked for, but instead of asking again and then asking again and then asking again, and sources saying it's here, it's here, it's here, would the best thing to be to talk about that thing that you asked for as if it's happened,
yes.
and just all the appreciating elements around it, and just...
Because the whole point of talking about it, and the whole point of every process in every book that we've written, is to help you to find the vibration of what you've asked for. So as you talk about it as if it is, and can find the feeling place of that, then it has to be. But sometimes you have so much realism going on that when you talk about something that is, that really isn't, then there's an awareness that it isn't, and then a feeling of contradiction that goes on. There are those that say, if I fake it or if I pretend it, even before it is, then it must be. And we say, you can't fake vibration. The vibration is real. And so here's the difference, and you laid it out there so clearly that we can speak it easily. You talk about what you want and why you want it, because of the pleasure that the conversation gives you, not because you have an ulterior motive of trying to make something happen. Right. Because when there's an awareness that you're talking about it in order to get it to move from over here to over here, now you've activated where it is in the mix. But when you talk about it for the pleasure of talking about it, for the pleasure of it, not because you're trying to make something happen, now you don't activate the absence of it, and the vibration is pure. Did you hear that? Yeah. That is really big, you see. The other day, Jerry and Esther were driving. Esther was driving, Jerry was riding, and they drove all the way from Boston with one stop in Denver to here in a matter of a few days. So it was a lot of days on the road. And at one point, Esther said to Jerry, tell me the story of our Del Mar house, because it's this beautiful place that they have not been at all since they, at all. And so it's just a sort of distant memory for Esther. And so Jerry began, tell me the story of our Del Mar house. Now, Esther didn't want him to tell her the story of the Del Mar house to make the house. It's already there. She didn't want the story to fix something that's broken. Nothing's broken. She just wanted the pleasure of the story. And so Jerry started out on the freeway and then made his way in through the bird sanctuary, up the road, talked about driving the bus up, and talked about bringing it around the corner and opening the gate and setting the bus in. And then he walked her step by step around the property and through the house and into the rooms and out onto the deck, and talked about the vista across the way. For over an hour, he barely took a breath. He told her the story of the Del Mar house for no good reason other than for the pleasure of the story. It was the most delicious experience for Esther. In other words, there was no ulterior motive. There was no trying to make anything happen. It was for the sheer pleasure of the journey. And it was easy for him to do because he was describing what's already done. And we want you to take that same understanding and describe what's already done in your vibrational escrow, because you put it all there piece by piece. Every bit of it you've put there. You know what's there. And as you describe what's there for the sheer pleasure of activating it within you, it'll be activated within you. You'll get in the vortex, and now law of attraction brings you as one of the components to complete the mix of all of it.
Yeah.
Really good.
Absolutely.
Yes,
and I can tell you, I don't know if you talked at all, Jerry, about the ocean in Del Mar, but there are beautiful waves and dolphins swimming in them and whales with their tails, and beautiful place. And I got that feeling I when you talked about a Del Mar house, and it felt so good. So I really understand that telling that story about what you've asked for, about how good it feels to be in it, is being in it.
So what we're talking about here is the motivation behind telling the story. And if the reason you're telling the story is for the vibrational pleasure, everything's pure. But if the reason you're telling the story is to make something happen that hasn't happened, now you've contaminated the vibrational mix with the absent part.
Yeah.
So good to know.
Yeah, absolutely.